Hi, welcome to Oxford Analytica's video briefing. I'm Dr. Chris Oates, analyst for North America, joined by Dr. Jill Hedges, senior analyst for Latin America. We're here in anticipation of the Brazilian presidential elections. The first round will be on October 5th, and then the follow-up second round will be on October 26th. President Dilma Rousseff of the Workers' Party is being challenged quite closely by Marina Silva, who is an environmental activist but is also quite favored by the financial markets. And that's a strange connection, Jill, because usually environmental activists are not that beloved of the business community, but Marina Silva seemed to have quite a lot of support from there.
She does, and that is quite counterintuitive, actually, because her record has been very strong on environmental issues, possibly to the detriment of development of hydroelectricity, agro-industry, businesses which are quite important for Brazil. I think she's very popular with the business community right now because there's a feeling of anyone but Rousseff. Before Marina came up in the polls, business was very enamored of Aécio Neves, the social democrat, who's now running quite a distant third, and he's not going to make a second round. So they've latched onto Marina with the idea that she's going to be more market-friendly than Rousseff. She's not very clear on her economic policies, but she's spoken about central bank independence. She's promised to bring in technocrats. It's generally assumed that the Social Democrats will probably contribute members of her cabinet, because once they lose in the first round, they'll probably throw their weight behind her in the second.
And at the moment, it seems still too close to call, but there have been polls which give both candidates a lead. Are we too early to make a judgment on who will win?
Yes, it's very close. I think all the trends probably favor Dilma Rousseff in the second round. She's leading in the first round in all the polls, and historically the first round winner always ends up winning the second round. Most of the polls lately have put Marina slightly ahead in the second round, but in a technical tie because it's within the statistical margin of error. There's one poll that came out yesterday that gives Rousseff a 7-point lead in the second round, which is outside the margin of error. So that is, to me, it's a clear indication that Marina Silva is starting to lose momentum after her initial launch, and Rousseff is gaining ground. She's gaining ground across social sectors, if you look at the polls, and she does have the benefits of being the incumbent, in particular the fact that the Workers' Party government has been very successful in conditional cash transfer programs like the Bolsa Familia. A lot of people have come out of poverty under this government, and her campaign's been quite successful at pressing the image that Marina Silva will go for fiscal austerity to the detriment of social programs, and people could risk falling back into poverty.
And will there be any more policies after an election, assuming a Rousseff victory, to address the issue of income inequality beyond conditional cash transfers? Even with them, Brazil still has a very high Gini coefficient of 0.51 compared to 0.47 for the United States. Is it possible that there will be any other policies to follow up on conditional cash transfers?
Yeah, I think the conditional cash transfers have probably gone about as far as they can go. They've been very successful in reducing poverty, less so in reducing inequality, although it hasn't fallen hugely, but it has fallen throughout the Workers' Party government. I think the real question is whether any government coming in is going to move on to the second phase that is really needed now, to a phase of increased education reform, better healthcare services, better employment prospects, so that people have less risk of falling back into poverty without the social programs. And there's not too much sign of that happening. Education reform especially is very difficult because of the trade union interests, political interests, the fact that state and local governments are involved in managing education. So far it's hard to see much sign of the kind of second generation reforms that would be needed.
And in that case, do you think that conditional cash transfers may cease to be an electoral winning point for any of the parties if it's assumed that they're a permanent feature of the political landscape in Brazil?
So far, the Workers' Party has been very successful in painting this as their own program, even though, in fact, it was the Social Democrat government of Cardoso before Lula's government who brought them in. Frankly, it might be a long time before that happens. I think the Workers' Party is so entrenched now, especially in the north and the northwest, because of these programs, that it's difficult to see anyone making any inroads on that. And I think particularly because if Marina Silva were to win, she probably will have to implement austerity measures next year. I think any government will have to do that. But it may be seen that she is kind of deliberately rolling back on social programs in order to favor business interests, which would really run counter to her idea of more participation in democracy and more open democratic government.
Well, thank you for that. It'll be exciting to the first round of the elections and then for another 3 weeks after that until the second round. For more on this topic or of any other in the global political economy, please read the Daily Brief or to log on to oxan.com or to get in touch with us or any of our analysts at Oxford Analytica. Thank you.